Hey everyone, welcome back to my workbench. My setup is, I was playing with my setup a little bit, move my camera up a little bit so you get a little better, wider view of the action. So like I was saying last time, I wanted to do was work on the little Tiger game com, and just wanted to start laying things out, figuring out where it all goes. Oops, this actually goes over here, like so. So this little screen here is nice because it's actually HDMI out. So the advantage of that is you don't have to worry about. Um, you can use the SPI bus on it, but I just never got very good results from it. This is actually a really high resolution screen. It's an 800 by 480, so it's going to be super sharp. It's a 4-inch. So I'm going to lose probably just a touch off the corners. Where's that? This is the game com itself. The victim is here. I mean, the donor is here. So I can't get this one to read cards, and I don't really care about either. So what I'm going to end up doing is, you can see here how, I forget if it goes up or down. It doesn't really matter. I can always rotate the screen. So I lose a little bit of edge there. So I wonder if I should go with, I have two screens actually. I have this and I have a small one here. How big are you? You're a 3.5. The problem with the 3.5, I think, is I'll start catching a little bit of the edge. Well, yeah, see, I'm not really happy. Yeah, the 3.5 is just too small. So I'm gonna go with this 4-inch, and all I'll do is, it is a wide aspect ratio. So what I'll end up doing is I'm not gonna cut the case. I'm just gonna go in the Pi itself. You can set the overscan. So I'll do is I'll set the overscan so it just cuts off some of the edge here, left and right edge. And I think the height is just fine. Yeah, the height is perfect. Just the left right is a little bit, is going to hang off just a hair, which is okay. I'll just use the overscan feature. And you can see it sits nice, real nice in the system like that. I can't remember which way it's up. I think this is up. So what I'll do is I might solder directly to this guy instead of having a USB connection, which I don't think I have enough room for. I'll probably end up soldering right to it instead. See if my flashing the fresh copy of it over there, and it's done. Good. Like I said before, I do everything in Linux, so just use DD to copy it over. I can't remember if you need a separate supply for this guy or not. I'll find out in a minute. My little Pi power supply here, and into the Pi, like so. This is a Pi 3B Plus, relatively powerful system. And do I have, got lights, but no screen yet. So it must need an external supply. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing for the other one. Let me find a little micro USB cable. Hold on. probably already done resizing the file system at this point. Oh, it's still grinding. I can see it. Oh, it's off. Well, that explains things. I guess you don't need an external supply. Off on. Well, that's kind of gobbledygook. Welcome. Okay, it's looking for a controller. Hold on a minute. Let's see. Must need to change the orientation on this. Yeah, I remember having to do that before on some of these screens. Hold on. Let's go with. Yeah, if I remember correctly, you have to go through and install a driver, if I remember correctly, just to rotate that screen. Usually recognizes it just fine, but apparently it didn't this time around. Let's try the little screen instead. See what happens here. Let's make sure it's. I'm not sure if that's off or on. I don't see any artwork on the board. Little tiny little screen. Ain't cute. Can I go with the smaller one? That's the question. It'd show a little tiny bit of silver, but I think it'd be alright. Still need to mess with the overscan slightly, even on this one. I'm a little unhappy with how that looks. Yeah, look at the big ass screen. See, the width is right, the height is wrong. Yeah, the aspect ratio is just a little bit off. So I wonder why this screen is not doing that. Is not orienting the right direction. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Actually, it's the first time I think I've ever powered up this little screen, so it's odd. Oh well. This is the little tiny screen going on there. Yeah, the only problem is if I try to go with that, maybe I'll desolder this real quick. How will that look? Probably look okay. Silver, maybe a little bit black edge going on there. I'm a perfectionist. I have to figure out why the aspect ratio is on this wrong on this screen. This is a. I wonder why. Well, here's a question: if I unplug this, turn that off. Plug this guy in. At least power it up. This is a wave share, if I remember correctly. Little beastie, aren't you? I wonder why you're not turning on now. very odd. Maybe I have a defective screen. I got nothing, man. Wow. Let's see. It's a little surprising. I'm not seeing any activity lights on there, which worries me slightly. But only slightly. Or my Pi just decided to stop working. Nope, Pi's working just fine. Well, that's weird. Well, I guess I'll go with the smaller screen then. What's going on with this guy? Very curious. Give me a moment. Okay, I saw the backlight kick on for a second. Backlight's on. Let's see. There's an HDMI out. HDMI in. Where are you going? You go. I see you actually go to my. Let's see, HDMI. Where are you going? You are going over here. You're actually plugged into somewhere. Where are you going? Okay, you're not plugged in anything right now. Let's see if I plug it into my. Let's see. This is my other, much bigger Raspberry Pi system here. Beast. What happens when I just plug in this to this? This is just a 1080 out coming out of here. See, something's wacky here. Doesn't accept the 1080 signal directly. That is so odd. Usually these will understand a 1080. Well, heck with it. I'll just go with a little screen, I guess. Yeah, it's fine. That's my big old Pi there. I think I've showed this system before. It's my little Connex Duo I made. It's a 7-inch screen. That all works. Alright, so anyway, I guess I'll go for the smaller screen. So now I need to figure out how to get this all fitting inside this little tiny case. Just fine. Well, I don't get why that screen doesn't work. Oh well, I'm not going to obsess over it. I'll deal with it later. Alright, so a couple things need to go inside. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to run it off of double A's. Just why not? So what I want to do is keep it so that, since I got my soldering iron heated up, I'm going to take off these wires real quick. Alright, so that's that guy. This guy. And last time I did one of these, I used just a composite screen, which was fine, but I'd rather use an HDMI screen. So everything's going to fit in here. Which way was up? Yeah, it was up. Which fits just fine. So the biggest problem I'm going to run into is you can see the depth of this. Let me take some of the guts out of this guy here. So I have a plan. I am a man with a plan. This screen's in decent shape. I think I'm going to... I have another GameCom with a busted screen. It's not a very good screen, but the cartridge works. This one I can't get the darn cartridge to work to read to save my life here, so I'm gonna repurpose this little guy. You're gonna go with the other GameCom. Where are you? You're over there. So I'm just gonna cannibalize one for the other. Alright, so what's gonna end up happening is this is the motherboard. That's just coming out entirely. So let me pull that out. Alright. Oh, in case you've never seen one of these inside, this is what the GameCom looks like internally. It has everything. These are called glop tops. Everything is just all covered with that black gunk. Very inexpensive way to make this. You see all the daughter cards and memory and everything are just kind of slapped on willy-nilly. Very, very crude kind of thing going on here. So all we're saving from this is this. My lighting's terrible today. Over there. So what we're going to save is this is for the D-pad here. This is actually the power circuit they put on there. I don't know why. So this is of course your AA holders. I'm going to reuse that. I just like going retro and just using the built-in batteries. The battery life isn't that bad when you're using AA's. So pull those off real quick. So how it's going to work is, I'll get these out of the way just for a minute, because this won't go directly through this PC board anymore. I'll have a little what do I get here? 3.6. A little buck converter here to drop it down to 5.1 volts for the Pi, and then so and then of course this board here is for the this one's used. This your 4. You have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to repurpose the power button as like a start button, and just use one of those kind of clicky buttons I have for turning the power off and on. I'll probably end up putting it up top here somewhere instead. So let's pull this guy apart a little bit, and I'll show you my depth problem and how I think I'm going to try to solve that. Screwdriver, smaller tipped. Let's try this guy. Oh, you're a big old number 2. I don't want 2. I want 1. Number 1. And jeweler screwdriver. Okay, there you are. This is the one that works really well. This part here covers up the cartridge slots on the GameCom. I have to reuse this because this is actually used for for holding up this board. So what I'll end up doing is I will desolder this, pull it off, reuse it and splice longer wires onto it. I've tried desoldering from here. These traces are so delicate, it's crazy. So I'm going to cut off here and extend the wire. So pulling the motherboard out will give me room to drop this in. I'll probably have to end, I'll see what that, I'm going to check out that height in a minute. I might have to end up, I was going to solder to the backside anyway, so I might end up just pulling off all these connectors, desoldering all these connectors, pull them off, and just to get myself a little more height. So it's a tight system to work with. So let's pull this apart. Oh, turn. So many screws. So many screws. Does this one work or is it too big? That's too big. Do I have a better screwdriver? Let's try you. Where's the big guns over here? Can't seem to keep this camera in focus today. There we go. Let's see what works best. Let's go with this guy. Well, finer. Let's go with that guy. That slots in there. Slots in there pretty well. Let's try that. Is that the plus? No, that's the PZ. I just need the P. Phillips 0. I don't think it's a 00. I think it's, yeah, it's just a 0. Get this sucker apart. So I don't need. So I'm going to pull this whole motherboard out. Probably end up reusing the, there's a stereo jack in the bottom here. I'll probably end up using that. The Pi is nice because you can actually tell the output to the, there is a 3.5mm jack there, which is nice. Pull off of there. And this has got, so I gotta take out this little daughter, this power and D-pad board here. I'll show you the height problem in a minute. Sorry, this video is going a little long. Didn't expect the problem with that other screen. And again, like I said, I've tried to desolder from this, but last time I did that I wrecked it, so I want to just cut this off and use the cables instead. I'll just splice on longer cables. And before anyone gets their panties in a bunch worried about you're destroying a classic system, and it's a garbage system. These Tigers are terrible. The games are awful, the screen's awful, and this was donated to me anyway, so I can do what I want. Nothing's truly rare if it's got a UPC symbol. That's my philosophy. Oh, what screw am I missing? So many blinking screws on this thing. What am I missing? Oh, I'm not missing any screws. It was just doesn't want to come out. Oh yeah, let's pull this out. And again, since I'm here, I'm gonna pull off these wires too. I'm gonna reuse this. So the motherboard itself, I don't have much use for. And this is the problematic one that won't read cards. I cleaned it with deoxit and I still couldn't get it to work. So before I completely basically toss this away. So yeah, this is rather crudely, these are hand soldered. This is all hand soldered. Even the pick and place on here is really bad. This is hand soldered. There's kludge wires going on here. I mean, this is how everyone I've seen has had. This is like one of the least amount of kludge wires I've seen. I've seen ones with more than this. So we got the kludge wires going on. Here's your audio circuit over here. It has a amplifier. Where's it at? I actually repaired one of these, and I put a separate amplifier in there, and it actually worked. So it cleaned it up pretty nice. But there's not much to it. There's just a few caps, and the amplifier's there somewhere. I can't remember where. Ooh, what a crude piece of crap. Little 10 megahertz clock. That's this guy right here. That's your crystal right there. Here's your RAM chip. There's, I think your CPU is here, and I think the audio is buried in here somewhere. I can't remember. But like I said, the solder to these things is not good. So what happens is, I'm not dumb. There's a reason there's a Dave on here, because my wife is left-handed, and she didn't want to accidentally grab my scissors. I am right-handed. Alright, so this is the old motherboard. Don't need that anymore. I'll probably save that for parts, maybe. So height-wise, I wanted to see. Probably gonna have to chop off a little piece of plastic here just to fit it in place. It's close. It just needs the. I've had to do this before, but I'll come in. And, what the heck was that? Really? Whatever it was, it's not important. I'll undercut this a little bit. So I can fit this board in here. I don't need to come much, just a touch, because I need to be able to get this screw and this screw boss here, otherwise it's not going to hold down okay. Height wise, how am I looking here? Well, I might be in luck. If I am lucky, I won't need to. See, everything's coming up Millhouse. Okay, I'm not going to have to take off these connectors. I'm just going to solder to the back side of it instead and just run wires out. So how it's going to sit is, how am I finding even more screws? This is going to sit in here. Once I cut this, this will sit in here, and this will sit on top. And so the height problem I'm talking about is the pie is going to sit right about there. Let's see how she centers up. Maybe I'm kind of forced to use the little screen anyway. So the pie comes slightly over this way. Okay, so this is how. Be a little silver showing, but who cares? The pie is going to be sitting, actually comes up slightly too. Pie is going to be sitting just like this, and you could see, if I could sandwich this properly, I need that much height. So what I do have, where'd that nut come from? Huh, whatever. I'll show you what I came up with. Coming up with, I changed my microphone too, so I don't have to use a lavalier anymore, which clipped on my shirt and was kind of a pain. So my goal is, with the pie, show you what I'm thinking here. I might have to cut a little plastic. Oh, don't you like your hole? Alright, let's pull that off. So the pie is supposed to snap into this case. Okay, so this I'm going to do is leave off the top half because I have a screen there, and then have this guy plug in here. Oops, is that right? Yeah, that's plugged in. Is that cattywampus? It's cattywampus. Okay. Alright, so this is the pie, so I'm going to have to cut this just a touch. Have this plugged together, and then I'll use my my end mill arrangement over there to basically carve out a section of the back, a nice rectangular section, and you can see the plastics almost match perfectly. So what I'll end up having is just a little bit of, oh, I actually have end pieces, so I'll probably end up cutting down to make it look a little nicer. But what it is it'll be, I will have the SD card will actually be accessible through the back of the case here, and then because it matches so closely, I can just cut it. I only don't even need to cut the full size. I can cut in a little bit smaller, and this will basically rest in here. And I'll make up the distance because I'm going to be cutting a hole through the back. So it's a little bit of a challenge. This is going to be sitting in here just like so. Kind of like that. And I'll just have to cut a hole through the back of this case here. And then this will drop through the back surface of the case. And since it matches, it'll look... just be a small bulge on the back, just to make up that distance, which isn't that big. So I got to modify this a little bit so allow the HDMI connector to be in place. You might see a little bit from the back side, but it's not too big of a deal, and I'll go from there. But yeah, that's where we're going. And that should be fun. Actually, I think this one has a... I have to look up the specs. I think it has an HDMI to audio decoder, so I can actually pull off of this one for the audio. Come to think about it. Is that an actual... Yeah, I can see the contacts in there. Yeah, so I'll actually be able to pull off of this guy for the audio out, as opposed to the Pi's audio out there. I can just, it'll convert the HDMI to that. So that should be interesting. Alright, so I'm going to have to plan out. This is going to be sitting in here more or less like this. This guy's going to be sitting in over here. And a bunch of wires are going to have to run over to it to, of course the USB is going to have to come over, and I have to figure that one out too. It's not the easiest setup, but it should look pretty decent when it's done. At least from the front. It'll look probably 10% hokey from the back, but from the front it should look just fine. And only other thing I have to do is add, I'll probably use the, there's, what was up here? That's not the audio. Oh, I'll probably, if I have the room, I will end up using the, maybe I won't have the room there. Maybe I will. I'll put the power switch where the old I think it was like a network link or something on there. I forget what it was for, but there's an extra hole up here. I can't remember what it's for. What the heck is that for? Oh, that was the power jack. I'll probably, ironically, I'll use this where the power jack was at for the on-off button. So it'll just be a little click off, click on and off here to turn it off and on, and go from there. And then I'll end up putting the buck converter up here. So I'm going to go from these battery leads up to the buck converter, and then power up the Pi. And of course, the Pi is the only thing that needs to be powered because the screen's powered up from the Pi, and of course, the USB joystick converter is going to be controlled from that. And I'll end up splicing in longer lengths for the D-pad here. That'll have to run along and plug in here. And of course, I'm pretty close here. I just need to extend that wires out a little bit, and I'll solder to the back of this guy. So that should be fun. Yeah, and this is a standard. I'll have to figure out what commons are on here. Yeah, I can see the commons. One, two, everything has got a single common. Yeah, there's a single common right there. So just like this, I'll hook up that common to the common on here, and just have the individual outs hooked up to the respective buttons, and that should work pretty well. And they'll have a little itty bitty little Pi in there. And of course, I gotta way cut down. There's a USB cable that is here, and I'll end up cutting that down, really shortening that down. I might just still plug into it. I think I'll have the room sitting right about here, so I don't even need to worry about, because I've had to do that before, actually solder to the back of these connectors, but I don't feel like doing that this time. So now I just need to figure out the layout and cut some place. So that's all going to fit. I got my joystick controller, I've got my Pi, going to have the screen on the top, got a cut hole for the back of the case, I got room for the buck converter sitting right there. So that should do it. Alright, this went rambling on for quite some time, 37 minutes. So thanks for listening to me for over half an hour, if anyone ever watches this. So yeah, that should work out well. I just need to cut, figure out how much of a big of a hole I need to cut in the back of the case, and go from there. I don't think I'm going to have room for the bigger screen anyway, so I'll just have to live with it. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching, and have a great evening.